Hey, what's up everybody? It's the People's Crypto. I'm back again with another video. In this video, I'm going to be discussing a dystopian society and a utopian society and how Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies could potentially create both in the future. But before we begin, please keep in mind that this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and please seek out a financial advisor before making any significant investments in any particular markets. Now, let's jump right into it. So let's say we have a situation where right now I think Bitcoin is at $9,133.44. Let's say Bitcoin does go to the moon. It hits $1 million. And then it continues to go higher after every halving. Let's say it hits 10 million, 25 million, 100 million. Let's just say it goes all the way to the moon. Now, for everyone who's been accumulating Bitcoin and Satoshis, for the lucky people who are able to acquire one Bitcoin, you would be extremely well off. Now, the problem with that is this. For all the people, for all your friends and family, for all the people you were trying to convince to get into Bitcoin that probably didn't, they will probably be living in squalor unless you're nice and you decide to give them some Satoshis. You probably won't though. Maybe you will. Who knows? Maybe you're a nice person. Maybe you're a nice guy or gal. But in the event that Bitcoin does reach these astronomical prices, you will be extremely well off. It'd be the equivalent to hitting the lottery 100x or 10 times over. You'd have so much wealth and abundance. You could virtually do whatever you want. Now, do you think you'd live in your neighborhood or any particular state? Probably not. You'd probably want to live in the best neighborhoods, the best countries, the best state. You would probably want to maybe live in a citadel, as the Bitcoin time traveler once coined in that Reddit post. So that's the thing. You'd take yourself and you'd move yourself into a utopian society where everything is perfect. You could have whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You can date the best girl, or you could date the best guy. You could do whatever you want. You have the options to live your best life. Now, we see this kind of like already in society where the celebrities have, somewhat of a utopian lifestyle where they get to, date the hottest models. They get to have the most luxurious cars, the biggest, nicest houses. They can live in, virtually anywhere. Now, what happens when Bitcoin goes to the moon and you have these options now? You would essentially have those same available options. You'll do whatever you want. You'd be living in your utopian future. For all the people who don't get into Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrencies, for the people who are strictly in the stock market right now, because the stock market went back to its all-time high. For these people who don't get into crypto whatsoever and don't buy anything, when that market collapses and it crashes, do you honestly believe that they'll want to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? Probably not, because they've gotten crushed. And usually when people have a very bad experience with something, they usually tend to not want to dive into something else with even more risk associated with it. So they will be living, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but they will be living in that dystopian society. They'll be living in squalor. They'll not be able to do whatever they want. They may have to work multiple jobs to just make ends meet. They may have poor health. They may not have the ability to do whatever they want. They'll just kind of have to figure things out on a day-to-day basis. And, unfortunately, it really depends. If you're a nice person and you want to help them out, you probably will. But let's just look at all those lottery winners. When you sometimes help out everyone, that usually makes you poor. Not to say that you'd become poor. It's just the reality of it is you could potentially lose your wealth. They may want you to purchase them a very big house. They may want you to purchase them an outrageously priced car. They may want you to consistently go on a numerous amount of vacations. Now, even if Bitcoin reaches these astronomical levels, it would take a lot for you to spend it. But please, be aware that if you're going to be spending your Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrencies, a lot of those things will probably still be expensive to do. Or they may be cheap. Who knows? But the point that I'm making is, usually people tend to distance themselves from, family members or friends who come out the woodworks, and now they're trying to befriend you. They're trying to keep in touch when you probably were telling them, hey, I think you should get into Bitcoin. Hey, I think you should, buy some Ethereum or some Litecoin or whatever other coin that you probably, told them about. And they probably like, no, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't want to bother. Or no, I'm not interested. Or I'll just stick with the stocks that I'm buying because, stock market, I'm seeing gains. So it will come down to a utopian and dystopian future. Now, what's interesting is they put this in movies. A lot of movies, actually. 2 movies in particular I'm going to speak about. And I'm going to try not to give away the entire movie, but I'm just going to briefly touch on them. One movie is called Soylent Green. Now, in the movie Soylent Green, I'm not going to get into spoilers or anything, but it does present a utopian and dystopian society. And they actually coexist. The people with all of the money and wealth, power, and influence, these people live in a utopian society. And then what's mostly shown in the movie is the dystopian society, where it's overcrowded streets, people sleeping on steps, you name it. It's bad. There's pollution. These people are dirty looking. It's people living in squalor, essentially. Now, we may be headed for something like that. And as crazy as this sounds, a lot of things that were mentioned in this movie, even like if you watch the beginning of the movie really closely, you can see people with masks covering their face, which is something that's happening now. And I believe the movie takes place in the year 2022. From the time of filming this video, it's 2020. That is approximately 2 years away from now. Interestingly enough, the things predicted in this film is just completely outrageous. However, if you watch the movie and you just write down certain things that you see or notice, I'm like, wait a minute, some of those things are actually happening now. Whether this is predictive programming or whatever it is, it's really fascinating and interesting that we're headed down that path. But there's one particular thing that's really over the top, but I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You'd have to watch the movie yourself. And then there's another movie, and this other movie is Elysium, and this movie is starring Matt Damon. In this movie as well, it depicts a utopian and a dystopian society that actually coexist in the same universe or in the same time period, just like in Soylent Green, where you have people who have money. They live in one particular part of, well, I'm really trying not to give away this one. Well, they live in one particular area, and the people who do not have anything, the people live in a dystopian society, they live in another part of the world, if you will. Now, the utopian and dystopian societies have been put in so many different movies, and this is just 2 of the movies. If we go to IMDb, we have so many movies that depict this. We have The Fifth Element, we have The Matrix, Brazil, Clockwork Orange, Blade Runner, 12 Monkeys, Minority Report. I can't pronounce that, so I'm not going to even bother. But yes, this movie here. Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. The list goes on and on and on and on. Now, one thing I can tell you is this. If you've watched The Jetsons, or if you watched any cartoons or any TV show that tries to predict the future. In most instances, they're actually somewhat pretty accurate. The most famous, of course, would be The Simpsons, because The Simpsons predict so many different things. But if you watch The Jetsons, which was before The Simpsons, they had smart TVs. They had smart watches. Even though in the show they still had cash, but they still had so many things that have somewhat been predicted to be accurate that we now have now. And if you watch the Jetsons, it probably won't look too far-fetched. It'll probably just go over your head because we have these things now. But back then, people talking to one another via FaceTime or, through the TV. We have all of these things now. For example, we have this health crisis going on now, and most people work from home and they sit and talk to their boss in Teams meetings or in Zoom meetings. These are things that the Jetsons predicted way back when, but now these things are happening now in real time, which is interesting. But to tie back in what I was saying previously, it appears we're headed for a utopian and dystopian future. We have so many major corporations that are filing for bankruptcy. This article, it's titled "All the Household Name Companies That Have Filed for Bankruptcy Due to Coronavirus." We have Chuck E. Cheese, J. Crew, Gold's Gym, Neiman Marcus, JCPenney, Hertz, Tuesday Morning, PQ New York, GNC, 24 Hour Fitness. And it's going to continue to happen. We already have 50% of the United States population currently out of work. And like I said, it's probably a lot higher because they don't count homeless people and they don't count people who are no longer looking for work. And I can only assume that this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better, because now the numbers from this public health disease are now increasing once again, which may appear to be a second wave, if you will. Now, if they roll back these reopenings and they decide to shut down the economy again, this would spell a lot of trouble for the remaining small businesses and the remaining corporations that were on a thread, holding on for dear life. If they do this, more people will be unemployed. They will not have unemployment, and they won't have the opportunity to buy Bitcoin. As a matter of fact, that'd probably be the last thing they're thinking of. The first thing they'll probably be thinking of is, how am I going to pay my rent or mortgage? Or how am I going to buy food? What if you have a family? What if you have a big family? Then you have to figure something out to make sure that you're providing for your family. So the very last thing they'll be thinking about is getting into crypto. That would be the very last thing they'd ever be thinking about. Their concern would be to take care of their family and their immediate liabilities, to make sure that things are paid off so they can somewhat still resume normalcy. Now, if you're listening to this and you're in Bitcoin and crypto and you're buying yourself gold and silver, to protect yourself in the event that there's a collapse of the system, you would be very fortunate. Extremely fortunate. And, if the prices of these things go to the moon, and they probably will, but we don't know when exactly. So you have to sit tight and be patient and wait for, the world governments to screw up, which it seems like they're on pace to, doing that. It will present a very unfortunate and sad opportunity for the people who don't have gold, silver, Bitcoin, or any other cryptocurrencies. And they will probably be living in that dystopian society. Now, if you want to help them, it's all on you. It depends if you're a nice person or not. If you want to help them, then by all means, help them. But you can't help and you can't save everyone. So if you're going to help someone, you kind of need to decide who you're going to help save. What you could do is you could maybe give them $20, $30, maybe $100 of Bitcoin and gift it to them. Because I know that, I did a video on convincing people to buy Bitcoin. It's going to be a battle. People are not really going to listen to you. They're going to think you're crazy. They're going to just think it's over the top. It's not something they want to do. Maybe if it was stocks or something like that, they may be a little more, willing to help you out. But after a lot of people got burned in that 2017 rally, or was it 2018? I can't remember. But after they got burned, usually people tend to not want to get back into something. And the same could be said for, this next stock market crash, because it's inevitable. Will it happen before the election, after the election? Nobody knows. However, it will happen. And when it does happen, please believe that a lot of people will not want to, take another chance in Bitcoin or in any investment for that matter. So these people will get burned and they're never going to want to get into crypto. There's like, oh, no, not that again. I got burned last time. The last thing I want to do is take my hard-earned cash, what's left of it, and put it into this crypto thing. So that's going to happen. So, trying to convince or convert people to getting into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is going to be an uphill battle. The very best thing you can do is maybe get a paper wallet or get a Ledger, Nano, X, or S. There's also a link to that in the description below if you want to purchase a Ledger, Nano, X, or S for a loved one and gift it to them. Maybe put $20 on a paper wallet and give it to them and show them how they can put it on there. But that's besides the point. But what I'm trying to say is you'll probably be better off if you get them some as a gift, maybe every Christmas or, when there's an anniversary or a birthday, maybe gift them $100 worth of, Bitcoin, or get them $100 worth of Ethereum, or $100 worth of Nano, or any other cryptocurrency. That may be your best bet to try to help them, because to be honest, it seems like we're gonna be headed for a dystopian and a utopian society. It's gonna happen sometime in the future. I don't know if it's gonna happen next year, the following year. Maybe it happened 2028 or 2030, but all the world's governments are being extremely irresponsible right now, and they're just printing out a ton of money. And one thing history teaches us is that when governments are irresponsible with the currency, it always ends in a collapse and the money goes to zero. It's happened in Venezuela. It's happened in Zimbabwe. It's happened in Weimar, Germany. It's happened in China previously before with their flying money. It's happened so many times. And it's going to happen again. And when it happens again, it may be the biggest bubble we have ever seen burst in our entire lifetimes. For all the people who've bought Bitcoin, gold, and silver, you'll be well off. You'll have the opportunity to live wherever you want and move and maybe even change your identity if you want to go to those extremes, but you'll be able to do whatever you please. And maybe you'll have a utopian society to, run off to. But for all the people who didn't get into Bitcoin, those people will be living in a dystopian society. Anything that, media has told us is that will happen. And you can call it predictive programming. You could call it whatever you want. If you think about it, technically we already have that now, but we still have a middle class somewhat. But once they decide, to get rid of the middle class, it's more or less going to be, you're going to have the extremely wealthy and the extremely poor. And it seems like this is what they want, because they're doing this quantitative easing. They're bailing out they're selecting certain companies that they want to prosper, and all other companies have to shut down because this current public health crisis. So they're picking and choosing who the winners and losers are. This is going to be the greatest wealth transfer in the history of mankind. And unfortunately, there's going to be more losers than there are winners. And that's going to do it for this video. But before we end, let's go over the cryptocurrency prices. We have Bitcoin at $9,133.17. Ethereum's at $228.27. We have Tether at $1. XRP is 18 cents. Bitcoin Cash is $224.38. Bitcoin SV is at $156.26. Litecoin's at $41.74. Cardano's at 9 cents. Binance Coin is at $15.54. EOS is at $2.45. And that's going to wrap it up for the top 10. If you're listening to this video on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and please share the video if you can. If you're listening to LBRY, please repost the video and leave a comment if you will. That's going to do it for this video. Thanks for listening and watching the video. And please visit the cryptocurrencyspace.com for all your latest cryptocurrency prices, news. And if you're looking to get a paper wallet for a family member, you can definitely do that here. And that's going to wrap it for this video. Thank you again for listening. Have a good evening, good night. Well, have a good evening, a good morning, and a good afternoon. Thank you, and I will see you next time.